Good afternoon, everybody. This is Caleb Bauer and
Dane Whitsett
with Frontline Realty Podcast from Firehouse to Open House. Today, we wanted to go a little different, a little off script from what we've been doing, or what you guys have been doing.
Yeah.
Just talk about the fire service, kind of what got you started in it, when you started,
Okay.
how long you've been doing it, stuff like that. So,
Well, we talked a little bit off camera. I did, in fact, start this while my age started with a 1. Yeah.
4 years ago.
I was 17, still in high school. I got my EMT and my Fire 240 through the post-secondary program. I graduated high school with both those cards, got hired onto my local department shortly after that. Was going through medic without any experience between basic and medic. And then, so I hit shift 2011. It's now 26, so it's been 15 years.
So, only thing that we relate on that is going from EMT right to medic.
Right to medic with
no buffer.
Bad idea.
Yeah, well, yes.
Yeah.
With supervision, it's not a bad idea. But no, and that's just kind of different than how I got rolling. Out of high school, I went to college on a soccer scholarship.
Oh, nice.
Was studying computer science, ended up getting injured. Did not like how boring that major was, so I came home, went to Akron for a year and a half. Also didn't like what I was studying there. Had some buddies in the fire service, a couple of them from high school. One works for Akron, other one works for Cuyahoga Falls. Both of them were big influences on getting me started in this, but I knew nothing about it. Had no aspirations out of high school to do that. So I was, I don't want to say behind, because, you know, everybody starts somewhere, but I had a little bit more experience with college and schooling before I'd really gotten there. Age started with a 2 when I finally got hired somewhere, and I had my first medic school clinical before I'd ever started a med unit. So actually, ironically enough, the day we're filming this, buddy of mine I saw at the gym today works for an undisclosed department. He was my first preceptor, and I put the BGL strip to take a blood sugar. I put the blood part in the monitor.
I do that weekly. I'll be honest.
In Summit County, we do it a little different.
Okay.
That was just, I'd never done that before. The school I went to, none of them worked. So we always simulated taking a blood sugar.
Okay.
And I guess I just assumed, how else are you supposed to know what the blood sugar is if it doesn't read the blood?
That's true. That's true.
But yeah, going right from schooling to back of the bus was...
No, not a great idea.
No.
It was weird on my end. I was pushing morphine before I was legally drinking beer. Legally, of course. Legally. Yeah. So,
scary thought, but
let's talk, as we were talking off camera, let's talk about some of the changes and how you can find success in the fire service.
Well, you know, not to make fun of all the old guys, but you always hear from guys that have time on the job that back when they were testing, it was so hard to get a job.
It really was, though.
Hundreds of people on tests. I'm not disagreeing. I've just never experienced that. So.
Yeah, so it was crazy. Post the war in Iraq with George W. Bush and Obama, there was a lot of veterans coming out, and they wanted to have the same experience in the workforce that they did in the military, and fire and police, very common place for those people to land. So obviously, with the effects from 9/11 continuing on for a decade and a half of that creating a turn in the workflow for the fire service, it was hard not only to get a seat for a test, but if you didn't have military experience, odds are you weren't even going to place, because the top 5% of testers who were scoring a 100 on the test. If they had military experience, they were scoring past 100.
Yeah, so you would never be able to beat them.
I didn't test a whole lot for that very reason, because I did not have military experience. I was 18, 19 years old when I was testing. So my age was kind of hurting me. I'm like, okay, so long that I can find 2 sustainable part-time jobs, I'll worry about full-time a little bit later, which is why I spent 6 years in the fire service before getting hired full-time.
Get your feet wet somewhere, kind of learn how to do it.
Built experience, built a reputation, built a name for myself. And then while that was going up, the decline in the workforce started to happen. There were retirees. Not as many people were testing because they had tested and they were full-time, or they were making transitions to different careers. Now, when you walked in, your experience has been completely different.
Yeah, I mean, just to start, a lot of places that, you know, my full-time job, for instance, was an application.
Yeah.
It wasn't a test. Now we had the polygraph, the psych test, the interviews, all that's the same, but that wasn't even a tested position. And honestly, I think of the tests I took, the biggest one might have been the city of Solon, and there was probably 120 people there.
That's still a lot.
Maybe. Yeah, I mean,
especially within the last 10 years.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
But from what I have gathered, you know, 5, even 10 years ago to now, I don't know if it's the quantity of people that are interested or the quality of people they're getting to sit for these tests is just not what it used to be.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of both. And seeing it for someone who has sat on the other side of the hiring table, I have
Italian.
Yeah, I have, and on a local front, I used to be a VP for our union.
Oh, okay.
There's a lot of questions that we ask for specific reasons in these interviews. We have seen issues in the past, and we want to see if these candidates can fill these shoes that need to be filled. And a lot of the time the ball gets dropped, and some of it has to do with experience, but because of the expectation in the fire service, there needs to be a certain work ethic that has to be present, and there has to be a mindset that is also backed up by consistency. And to find that in the fire service now in 2026 is hard.
Yeah. I want to back up, though, interview questions, because that I know is a huge one.
Yeah.
I've only been doing this for 3 years, coming up on 4. The amount of people that I know that either friends of friends, family that are getting into the fire service, they ask me, what questions should I know? How should I answer those questions? And what are the no-nos or the big strikes on things I should not say?
Okay. Well,
someone that's been on that side of the interview.
Some of that's going to be department dependent, because like I said, every department has a question or two because of something that had happened with the
Same
person.
Thing with an SOP, there's a rule because of somebody at one point. Yeah, so
if you put your foundation of what makes a good employee or a good firefighter first and your answer, that's kind of what we expect to hear. It's the outliers that go above and beyond. There was a couple guys that had interviews, and their answers ring in my head to this day. One of
probably not in a good way, I'm assuming.
No, great.
Oh, okay.
Honestly,
okay.
Great. And they wound up being pretty good hires too, obviously, because they had these answers. So one of the questions was, what makes you want to be a fireman? And
that's the number one question I ask people if they bring that up to me. So I want to hear your answer.
The number one answer that stuck out to me was a guy who's no longer with the department I'm full-time at. He's moved on. But his answer was, this is a job to where I can show on a day-to-day basis that I am the person that my wife thinks that I am.
Wow.
I was like, I wanted just to throw my papers in the air. I'm like, hire him now.
Interview over.
Interview over. Like, what what an answer.
Yeah.
And he had military experience, so I imagine there's probably a buddy system in the background that they had bounced these answers around. But I really believe he was sincere in that answer too.
Yeah, that one's hard to make up.
Yeah. So if you can answer a question to that depth and to that extent to where you're going to make the guys at the table who asked that question look at each other and then question themselves, am I able to live up to that standard?
Am I doing that?
Yeah.
And I work here.
Yeah. Oh man, that was a great answer.
So just to be clear, it's not because I want to help people. That's not the right answer.
No, we hear that 99% of the time. Yeah, I guess to circle back to your question, if you're able to give a really good answer, but something that also separates you from the pack in your answer, that's going to make you stand out. Please find a way to do that. Now, some of the guys that we hire because of laterals, so we do have that series of questions that we ask people, but let's say someone, in my case, has 15 years of experience. If I were to test full-time somewhere else, one of the questions that I would probably ask myself is why the fire service still, instead of why the fire service now? So be prepared for answers like that, because those do change based on candidates.
That's true.
Of how we ask them.
Yeah, different spots in your career, different ages, whether you've started the career at age 40 or at age 18, it's gonna be a little different. So
I
like it.
And the laterals in the fire service are an absolute game changer for guys too, because there's been guys who have been stuck in departments who either hit their ceiling or had a bad experience and they needed to change.
Get kind of turned off to the department after that.
Yeah, but also, they're halfway or already vested in their pension, and they're like, man, I got to see this through. But then you don't want to do it at the department that you're at. They
don't want to start over and try to top out after 5 years somewhere else, or risk losing time off. Don't mess with guys' time.
Yeah.
If they want to leave or go somewhere else.
Yeah. That's like you can kick them in the shins, but don't mess with the guy's time off.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
It's true. Yeah. That's awesome.
What about the other experience in the room in the background? You got any questions? This is a great topic.
And just be clear, between the two of us, he's got like 80 times more experience, way older. Just found out he graduated high school
in 2006,
a couple years after I was born. So,
2004. Okay.
One thing I would ask you is: there's somebody who you thought was going to be complete just dud, and all of a sudden surprised you?
I want to say...
So, just in case you guys didn't hear that, someone who had interviewed as a dud but was hired anyways, but then just came out to be just a great hire.
I want to say I don't think it would ever be a surprise. I think a lot of times it's the other
way around. If you thought someone was going to be a rock.
Other way around, I've seen for sure.
That I would say I've seen guys either be talked up through references or word of mouth, and then come in and they think, oh, well, I can just kind of coast through here and do whatever it is that I do. And then you talk to the guys at their full-time department, like, wow, that guy's great. What do you mean? Like, oh, well, that's not the version we get here.
Yeah.
But the reversal, I don't want to say I've been surprised by anybody. And again, I'm not far off from being the new guy at places that I've worked, so I don't want to talk out of turn, but I think in some of the new people I've seen since I've started places that have come in after me, it's usually been, it takes a couple times of different people with more experience than you or I have. That it takes that 20-year guy to sit somebody down and have that heart-to-heart conversation, and it's an attitude thing. I don't think anybody really cares if you know what you're doing or not. It comes from having that attitude to learn and willingness to learn, because you get an 18-year-old kid yourself. When you were just on your new part-time job, you probably don't know that as the new guy you have to pick up dishes and be the first one to take the trash out, or first one out into the bay for a call. Like, just stuff that you pick up through doing the job is not something that you walk in on day one and know.
Yeah, that's an example of not knowing what you don't know.
Yeah.
And that's something that a good mentor in the fire service is able to teach.
Yeah.
I will bring this up because with his question, and you touched on it, sometimes you get a guy who is 18, 19, 20 years old and has no experience in the workforce in general, let alone
life.
in life and the fire service. But through their own ability to self-motivate, and I call it coachable. Is this person coachable? If they are coachable, when you hire them, you're like, I don't know, he didn't have a great interview. But then he winds up being a rock star because he was able to be a sponge in those moments and learn from it. Those ones are tough. We have past guys pass over them because of their age and experience. Hired guys who with more experience that weren't there for a long time, whether it was attrition or they were asked to leave, which has happened. And then we circled back to the guys that we had passed, and they were the better hire. But on paper, how would we know that because of the lack of experience?
Yeah. We actually talked about this on my last shift, my lieutenant and I, and I'd be interested to hear what you think, and you as well.
Love it.
No, we won't hire you. Don't worry. We blacklisted you from the whole town.
That guy? No, we don't want that guy.
Doing a extended, I don't want to say extended interview, but a 8-hour ride time, a 6-hour ride time over the course of whether you hit all 3 shifts or not, but having a serious candidate, say you and I both are trying to work at a department and there's one spot open.
Full-time, part-time?
Either or, whatever you want to look
okay.
at. Just we'll start with full-time. It's a desirable full-time job and you have 15 years of experience and I have 3.
Yeah.
Now, depending what the opening calls for, if there's already a really young department or they're looking for some experience, either way, having both of us separately go in a couple different times, meeting the crew, interacting with them in their element, in their department, on their med unit, on their engine, how they do things, and see how you fit in. Because I feel like sometimes it isn't even that neither of us would be a good candidate at 80% of the departments, but you might not be a good fit there.
Yeah.
I think that's huge that we either don't do that because
the
there's
blend.
not enough people that are applying, or people don't want to take a couple unpaid afternoons to do something. But
so I feel like you're asking a two-parter. To answer the first part, if guys who were working a part-time job or any job in the fire service treated each shift like it was a job interview.
I heard that every day in fire academy.
It's so true, because let's say you get comfortable at your A job and you start slacking a little bit, and then John gets hired there. He sees Dane as a slacker, and then he's going to go to his full-time job, or maybe his next job or his part-time job, and say, I work with this guy Dane, and then I apply there, and oh, Dane's a slacker. Well, no, maybe I just started slacking off a little bit, but the first thing that they heard about Dane was that he's a slacker.
Yeah.
So every job, every day has to be a job interview, because you don't know who's going to network, you don't know who you're going to meet in the future, you don't know where you're going to land in the future. You have to set yourself up for success. And the second part of that, I think, based on the culture of the job, every department's a little bit different. I think there's a couple departments in Stark County that probably fit in really good at, and then there's probably a couple that I wouldn't. Would the residents benefit? Would the rest of the guys benefit from someone who has 15 years of experience? Absolutely. Would I be a good fit there for the next 15 years? Maybe not, because I don't blend with the guys who are going to be there for their next 15 years.
Right.
And that's up on leadership to decide what that culture needs, how this person can fit in. There's a lot of variables there that are hard to predict. But yes, you are absolutely right. There's definitely something to be said about that.
Well, like you said, not only to take care of the residents or support the residents, like, you want to have a good relationship with the guys you work with. So in turn, you can better provide for the people of your city or township, because if you're not getting along with the guys you're showing up on scene with,
you got to mesh.
They don't have to know that.
Yeah,
you still have to be able to do your job, and you're not going to like everybody you ever work with, but you got to go somewhere that you fit in with the guys, that you mesh, and that way they, even if it's not a serious, a lift assist or general medical call, and you have 5 minutes towards the end where you're talking to the patient or the resident, like they can tell if the guys that are there like each other, are friends, with how they're joking around, like, and that goes a long way.
Yeah. And plus, if you're in a good working relationship with your coworkers, you're probably going to read their nonverbals a lot better than you would if you didn't. And those nonverbals are not only important in the firehouse day-to-day living, but also on calls. If you can pick up on a guy who's starting to get nervous on patient contact, it's probably time to be nervous.
Right.
Yeah, and that's
someone's
very important.
Throwing that iPad across the back of the med, you're like, oh, it's time to work. Like,
yeah.
All right.
Okay. All right. Gloves are getting dirty today. Got it.
I mean, that too, with just getting in a routine with, whether you're full-time or part-time, working with the same guys, even just looking at someone and be like, I know what he's going to need me to do. If he's writing the call, I know what he expects me to have done.
Oh, yeah.
Without him having to sit there and be like, hey, are you going to start that IV? Like, well, do you not know where the IV bag is? So the drug box is located. Like, they don't have to ask that. You just kind of know.
Just knowing it. That's that well-oiled machine. We're my full-time job. We're really good about that on squad calls because that is 90% of our job.
Yeah. Anywhere really.
Our fire calls, there's the guys with the more years on that I know that, let's say Frank is going to go do certain tasks. I know what Frank's going to do on the fire ground and on a squad. Like, I'm very confident in that. When you get guys who you don't know very well, you trust that they know what they're doing, but then sometimes you're taken back and you're like, he didn't know how to handle that.
Yeah.
So it's very dynamic.
I did touch on like one of your crap calls when you're pretty bad at how you learn from that and stuff.
Touching on an "oh crapper" call, code brown.
When I was like, oh my god, this is happening.
I feel nervous talking about these because I feel like you're putting it out in the universe again. Like
my favorite is the
karma dust out
talk
there.
About interview questions, but the family and the friends or random person. What's the worst thing you've ever seen?
Dude, I always answer that with my paycheck. Okay. No crapper and how a good crew versus a not meshing crew.
Something would have been completely different if it was a different configuration.
Yeah.
You got anything off the tip of your nose on that one?
It all blends together at a certain point. It does. But I will.
I feel like we're so good at turning the work light off sometimes.
Yeah. I don't take calls home. That's just, and again, not that we get that many that are the oh crapper ones. It's
okay. Just to answer the question. So you can probably put a name to it, and we don't know the same people, so I'm not worried about it. It's just everybody knows a person like this. You get a code, and you're expecting someone to do compressions, get them on the monitor, address airway, and then there's always that one person. It's not always, but there is that one person that if you're working with them that day, they're going to be doing ring around the rosy, not getting anything done because they're freaking out. Yeah.
So I think, how you ask the question, not going specifically into a certain call. I know I think about that, not at 7:30 in the morning when I sit down and scan the room. And I mean, I'm hoping people that work with me know that I can do the job, and I'm not viewed in the gotta do it different because he's here today. But we all think that way, whether we're in the right or wrong. When you look at the first due board of who you have working today, you're like, all right, if we get a fire today, or we get a code, or a extrication on a highway, like, I'm either going to have to really work hard to make sure this happens, or wow, I have a lot of experience around me.
I have two jobs to do today.
I have a lot of experience around me. This is going to go smoothly. Bring it on.
CT, I had the epiphany of like, okay, this is definitely not what I thought the call volume was going to be, because it was like one trauma thing after another.
And
I think that's just you.
Yeah, I think it
is.
You
bring that on. I don't think it has anything to do with where you're working.
Yeah, and that goes back to
when I used to work with you. I have war stories in the back of the med unit from shifts where I've still the worst shift I've ever had. I think from 6 p.m. to 8 a.m. we had 14 runs. And it was,
my God.
It had to do because I was working with him. It's just how it works. I will never have
Black
that
cloud.
sense. That's 4 times the average of that department was, but working with him, and it was not one of those was a BLS call. It's just that's what happens when I work with Jared. So he attracts that. He's the black cloud.
I'll believe it. Yeah, because he did the same thing at our job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They got out of service.
Sell a couple more houses so you could be done with that.
Yeah, I'll say one more thing and then we'll wrap it up. For those who are interested in the fire service or having a long career in the fire service, and this goes back to our first episode of the day, accountability, be present when you're there, and be the person that when you show up on scene, they say, thank God.
Yeah.
Your reputation follows you. Everybody knows.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, your reputation
You could ask.
is
You
a
could
smoke
bring
trail.
up the closest 30 departments around here, and whether they're my closest friend or I've met them at a hospital, I bet you I could put a face to a name of at least one person at every one of those departments.
Yeah.
And it's not my job to give an opinion on every applicant that they might have, but just for people to know, like, it doesn't matter where you apply. Someone in that room is going to look at your application, see a department or a place you went to school.
They make a phone call.
And make a phone call and get an answer. What's up, dude? Hey,
Yep.
just got one question about so-and-so.
Yeah,
And they will
I
give
saw
you...
this Caleb Bauer cat.
Yeah.
Tell me about him.
One day that kid showed up at Canal Bolton and dropped his app off, and I noticed that he drove over 2 hours. And I asked him, I was like, so what brings you up here? And his verbatim response was, I need to go somewhere where nobody knows who I am.
Uh-oh.
I need a fresh start.
Yeah.
So, my full-time job just hired a guy, great dude, 18, zero experience, EMT fire card, no.
Your new partner.
Yeah, actually, his mom works at Altman ER with Casey.
Okay.
But what she did, and I love this, is because he didn't have any experience in the fire service. She went into our EMS room, put his name, his phone number, and his credentials up there, like his EMT looking for a part-time or full-time job, and then his phone number, just like you would like on a flyer. That's how we hired the cat.
Wow.
So someone grabbed the number.
I can't believe nobody vandalized that picture.
Only mine.
Yeah.
Only my photos get vandalized in the EMS room.
No, that's... I've never...
I've never seen
heard of
that. I've never
but
heard of that, and it
First
works.
of all, props to the mom, but that's pretty cool.
Yeah. No, that's thinking.
So he
outside
didn't.
the
He
box.
hadn't applied to
No.
you guys at all. You
No, so
specifically reached out.
someone on our department grabbed the tab, called it, or brought it to the chief.
So it's like a
and
missing dog.
Yeah, missing dog. Yeah, and they told him like, okay, you have to do a formal application.
Right.
So he did. Had an interview within a couple of weeks, and now he's part-time rotation.
Wow.
Yeah. Good dude too.
New strategy unlocked for sure on that one.
Now we'll try that in real estate.
Yeah. my
just
mom,
put
my
flyer.
mom did that to me when I was in high school. She signed me up for one of those job search websites.
Yeah.
Didn't realize that I'd get like 800 phone calls a day, so that was awesome.
Oh, I bet.
Flyer hanging up there, and I got doodled on.
Yeah, both my flyers at both hospitals.
Really?
And
I think-
we tested it by swapping it out with one of mine. No one touched it.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yikes.
they're just mine. Now, there's also more flyers with my face on it throughout the hospital. Those don't get doodled on. It's just the ones in the ER room.
Do you have one in each patient room? Like if I were to check myself into Altman or Mercy today, would I see you in one of the rooms?
Dude, I wish. I wish. And if, based on what hospital it was, I'd be like, if you want a better experience.
Do or say this.
Yeah. All right. That's it. Thanks for watching.